Okay, guys, we're back, and like I said, we have Jack. He's cut out, and he's definitely a little fuzzier than he was before because when we blew him up, we went ahead and we cut those noise back or that noise back when we did the image reduction. Or excuse me, not the image reduction, when we did the image enlargement. If you don't cut the noise, it's gonna get noisy, which means there's gonna be a lot of dots on it. It's not pixelated per se. It's just kind of like lots of dots. So anyway, we're gonna be able to bring that detail back to Jack. So I want to move him over to this one sheet. Say okay to that. And just to get a sense, I left the old one there, and look how much larger this one is. Okay, and that's a little bit more on par of what we need. Still a little small in my opinion. We're gonna make it a little bit bigger anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna transform him again, and what I got to be careful. Like I don't want to cut off his nose, right? But I think I can cut off like you know maybe part of his back a little bit. I haven't committed to the transformation, so I can make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Um, I want something along these lines. I think it's going to work out. So again, that's how Jack was before. This is how Jack is now after we've gone ahead and scaled him. So it's really important to do our scales. So let's go ahead and say Jack. All right, now I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to zoom in a lot. I'm going to zoom in like 100%. Okay? Really close. And that photo is actually pretty good. To think about it, it's been scaled up so much. Now, we definitely have a little bit of noise happening here. And it's pretty soft in certain spots as well. But it's not too bad. And I know that I took a lot of time on that background, and look, he's covering most of it. It wasn't meant to be a real, kind of punchy kind of background or anything like that. If I wanted to, and I wanted to like make it a little bit taller, I always could, right? That might actually serve us a little bit better in the long run. But to do that, I'm going to have to go ahead and probably do a little scaling on this back one. And again, I'm just dragging. I'm totally like scaling. I don't want to say incorrectly, but yeah, incorrectly. I'm not holding down the shift key. But again, it's going to be okay. You just got to trust me on this. When we get to the final product, you're going to not even notice half that stuff. Okay? So scaling. As long as that top one looks right, then I think that's really what matters. And again, big document size. Every time you do something, it's going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to save this again. And I can still move it around and stuff while I'm saving, but I'm going to try not to do that. I don't want this thing to crash. That would be a great teaching moment, but I really don't want that to happen. So save often, save early, and just kind of be aware of what it is you're doing. Probably move this top one down just a little bit. There, that's better. I think it's going to be okay. Actually, I know it's going to be okay. Now, I want to go ahead and just talk about like the relationship that we have here with Jack in the background. Now, when I went ahead and I got this picture of this little dude here, right? He's on it's a similar day. It's kind of gray outside. It's not sunny. It's not a blue sky. It's a similar day to this. So that's a pretty good thing that I have going on there, right? It's not awful or anything like that. But what I want to do, just to be sure, is I want Jack to blend into that background as best as humanly possible. So to do that, What I need to do is this. I need to go ahead and I need to take my group in my background and I need to merge that. And I'm going to hold down the Option key when I do it, all on the PC. So that way it makes a duplicate of that for me. Okay, this harkens back to like when you were doing like the ducks and stuff like that in Art 222. Now, what I want to do as well is this. I want to command click or control on a PC, Jack. It's going to highlight that layer. And I want to go ahead and click on this background layer and do a Command J, which essentially gives us this cool looking, like almost double exposure kind of thing, right? And what I want to do is take this layer here and I want to enact this kind of funky filter to it called average. So if you go to filter and blur, you're going to use this thing called average here. And what average does is it goes ahead and takes all the colors that made that up and averages them together. It usually turns into like a gray or a brown, or in this case kind of like a tan. And what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put that above Jack, and I'll call this the average filter layer. Let's see if I can spell correctly. Layer. Okay. And I'm going to come down to my blending modes, and I'm going to try a couple of them. Overlay seems to work out really nice sometimes. If that doesn't work, try out maybe soft light, vivid light. Okay. They tend to work out better. The lightens, the darkens, the dodges, not so much usually. Okay. Now you might be looking at these things and being like, this does not work. It's just blowing it out, right? It's not working. It is, okay? Trust me on this one. So let's find overlay. We just don't need it up at 100%. We need to find that space between 100 and 0. And usually it's in the 20s to the 40s, somewhere in there. And what this does for us, okay, is essentially this goes ahead and this brightens up our character here. That's a little much. So maybe in the 20s, 22, something along those lines. And it just gives them that tonal value that helps blend them in the scene even more. And that's an important thing, right? We want them to feel like they're there. Because without that, then they don't look real, right? So we want that to definitely be there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this background, this merged background, and I'm going to play around with some stuff here. Let's try a few different things. Let's go to filter, and let's go to blur, and let's go to Gaussian blur. And let's just kind of like jack up our radius here a little bit and see what we can get. And look at that. I'm really going to go ahead and I'm going to blur this. Now, if I say OK to this, I get this spinning wheel of doom. There it is. The rainbow wheel of doom. Or the spinning pinwheel of doom. Whatever you want to call it, right? It's just the software thinking. That's all. And if I go ahead and I turn on Jack, now he's in focus and they're not. And that's a simple technique. That's just a depth of field kind of thing, right? That's cool. It might be too much though, right? So I might undo that. Let's undo it and let's redo it. And let's undo it and let's redo it. And let's undo it and let's redo it. And I want to teach you this awesome command, okay? It's called fade. So we're going to say edit and fade. Fade is undo on a slider. Okay? Write that down in your notes. Fade is undo on a slider, which means that at 100% we have our Gaussian blur, and at 0% we don't, and at 80%, 70% we have a little bit of a blur. And I'm going to say okay to that. And I like that a lot more than 100% blur, and I definitely like it more than the 0%. So now that we've got a nice foreground background relationship figured out, and we've got Jack, the right kind of color tone, I think the last thing I want to do is I want to kind of sharpen him a little bit more, since he is at the forefront of this, right? There's the color tone, by the way. It is a little yellow now that I look at it again. Maybe 15%. And again, here's the beauty, okay? If we don't like it, we take it away. If we like it, we keep it. Ooh, I think soft light might be the winner here. Anyway, so I'm going to turn that off for a few minutes, and we're going to take a look at Jack. And I'm going to duplicate him again. And what I want to do is I want to run this other filter. It's called the high pass filter. So I'm going to go to Filter, Other, and High Pass. This filter is used in tons and tons and tons of movie posters. Now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see what's going on here with this filter. Do you see how we get kind of this, these like kind of like little, it's all gray, and then we get like this kind of depth happening? That's the high pass working. So if I bring the radius down to nothing, it stays all gray. What I want to do is I want to increase this, and I want to zoom in more so you can really see it. There it is. You see how I'm just starting to get the details to come out? And when we started out, it was what, 10 or something like that, right? When I turned it on, and we got a bunch of details, and then we started getting these funky colors here in the eye. That's too much, right? What I want to do is I want to go really low with the radius, and I want to build up, build up, build up. And I really want to just go ahead and turn it on when I start to, or excuse me, okay it, when I start to see those kinds of details forming, and kind of like showing within the gray. And that lets me know that I've done it enough. Because what this is this is a subtle technique. You don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to say okay to this. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go to overlay. And I know it doesn't look like much at first, okay? But trust me, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this, and we're going to count down together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And look at that. I turned it off, and it's definitely fuzzier. So again, count with me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn it back on, and look at that, sharper. And if it works once and you like it, but it's not quite where you want it to be, go ahead and give yourself another Command J. And there it is. It's even sharper than it was before. If that's too much, it's on a layer. Go ahead and play around with that. And find that sweet spot. And there we go. There we have our basis for our poster. So I'll say File and Save to that. So we're working, we're saving. We've got the high pass filter in here, and I'm gonna even call those. So I'll call this high pass 1 and high pass 2. We've got the average filter layer. We've got Jack. We've got the merge background. We got a bunch of stuff going on here. We got this white background. Probably just kill that. We don't need that. Okay, cool. All right, love and life. You know what? Let's go ahead and let's make our lives way easier. let's highlight all these things that have to do with this dog, and let's go ahead and either link them together or do a Command G and group them together. So that way, we'll call it Jack the dog. That way, if we need to move Jack the dog around, everything moves with him. All our filters and everything that we did to make him be what he is. In a perfect world, Jack would be up here, right? Because if I think about this, right, I got half a poster. Everything's happening on the bottom half. I really want Jack there. I really do. So what can I do? And like, could Jack turn? Maybe? A little bit? Yeah, he totally could. So, what could I do here? Well, I got an idea. And this is where I was getting at, where I wanted to grow the background and all that other stuff too. So, after my transformation goes through, I'm going to show you what my idea is. And this goes back to a lesson we did earlier in the semester with masks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. And I want my layer to have some sort of relationship to what's going on here in this image. So I'm going to go ahead and take my eyedropper here, and I'm going to grab this kind of brown color off of Jack's collar for one color, and then I might grab like maybe this kind of darker green for another color, and I'm going to just fill with those. And I'm just not sure where I want to be yet, but that's okay. I don't need to know quite yet. And what I'm going to do with this is this, guys. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to put a layer mask on here. So let's call this, I'll call this flat color. I'm going to put a layer mask on here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my gradient tool. And I want a black to white gradient. And I want it to be a linear gradient, normal mode, 100%. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw that on there. And check that out. Now, to do this the right way, I gotta really I should probably give myself a guide. So I'm gonna turn my rulers on. And I'm gonna drag that guide out just so I can kind of see it. So like, I need it to like go to there. And I gotta get it, like it's gotta get past there because I gotta hide all that, right? So let's try this again. All right. So what if I did from here to here? Okay, not enough, not enough. So it's got to hide that. And maybe I'm reaching just a little too much. Maybe I just need to pull this down a little bit. Okay. What do you think about that color there? That green color. Personally, I don't love it. Okay. And here's something else that I'm just not sure if I enjoy. It's that hard line right there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush. It's going to be a soft edge brush. A big one. I'm on that mask. I want to paint in white. What I think I want to do is I just kind of want to like curve around a little bit. Okay. Now check this out. I can change the color on the fly. And it's not going to affect anything else because essentially the mask just hides the color. Let's try it a little darker. That might work. So I'm going to play around with this mask color, and then when I get back in our next video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at titles and how we're going to work with those in the poster here and then also across the other parts of the campaign. All right, hope you enjoyed.